The views expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect those of this station.
Welcome to Insights into Northeast Michigan, a WBKB News public affairs program. Insights deals with the issues affecting those in the community as well as Northeast Michigan and the state. And now, Insights into Northeast Michigan.
Welcome to Insights into Northeast Michigan. Joining me today is Stephanie Gondula. Stephanie works at the Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary, and we are talking about mapping throughout the Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary and here at the Thunder Bay River. So Steph, obviously we have a very cool team here that's doing some work for you throughout these next couple of weeks. Can you talk about the importance of having this type of work done here in the sanctuary?
Absolutely. We are thrilled to have the best in the world, the best mappers in the world, the best surveyors in the world who usually spend their time out in the ocean. And they've come here to the Great Lakes to share their expertise and also to collect data. And you asked about the importance, and the reason, one of the many reasons it is so important and it's such valuable info is that less than 20% of sanctuary bottomlands have been mapped. So we've got 4,300 square miles out there, and we don't know a lot about what's under the waves. As you know, we've discovered lots of shipwrecks, and we estimate there's that many more to be discovered. But bringing in this expertise with the Ocean Exploration Trust and the University of New Hampshire's Center for Coastal and Ocean Mapping makes it possible for us to find out so much more about the lake bottom. Of course, the shipwrecks that are out there left to be discovered, but also the bathymetry, or what the bottom looks like, features and characteristics that will really interest fisheries biologists, chart makers for navigational information, and geologists, just taking a good, close, detailed look at what's at the lake bottom.
Now obviously this is important to the sanctuary, so you can help discover different shipwrecks and really learn what's on the bottom here of Lake Huron as well as the river. But for a community like Alpena or Rogers City, why is this so vital to these communities?
Well, I think there's lots of different levels, and I could go on and on why it's so important. Everything from bringing in these top-notch researchers, exposing them to our wonderful special place up here in Northeast Michigan. The communities have been so welcoming and so embracing of having these guests here. So there's that part of the economic development, just bringing visitors in. And then these folks go and talk about it to their networks and say what a wonderful time they had, and there's so much to do, the recreation. I mean, we've had on off days, which aren't very many, but we've had a couple off days, and the surveyors, the mappers, first thing they do is they go fishing, or they go and visit local restaurants and things like that. So there's that level of it for sure, but then there's also the data is really going to be useful for decades and decades to come. This is building up partnerships, multi-agency partnerships, whether it's within NOAA, different agencies within NOAA. We also have the Office of Coast Survey, which is another NOAA office here helping out with this project. So it's multi-agency and then also multi-departments around the community. So everything from dive boat charter companies and fishing boat charter companies can benefit from this info. And then I guess at the end of the day, it also is a good reminder for us at the sanctuary and for the community that we do have a special place here, a very unique and special place. And when you have folks come in and they're like, wow, this is super cool, it's a really good reminder.
Absolutely. And cruising is becoming such a vital part of our tourism scene here. Obviously, Alpena has begun to embrace tourism as well as other cities on the Sunrise side. And we're seeing some more cruise ships come here. How can they utilize this data to better not only embrace more cruise ships of coming here, but inviting more people to this area?
So when the cruise ships pull in, and it has been, I mean, you were there last year when the Hamburg came in, and more, the Yorktown a few years ago. As these cruise ships come in and the industry, the cruise ship industry, the people that are planning these trips, that are working with the travel agents and starting to promote Alpena every year more and more as a destination, as a port destination specifically for cruise ships. So every time that we're able to publicize the work we're doing here as a community, whether it's the Chamber of Commerce and the Visitors Bureau and the city working hard to promote it, whether it's the sanctuary providing important information for the logistical, logistical information that's required for a big ship like that to come into the river, all of those things working together build a network and build a infrastructure that there's going to be more and more cruise ships, and then also the ability for the community to welcome them sustainably.
And with that data, so they're able to kind of have a better sense of understanding when they come in here, or what exactly are they using that for?
Well, I mean, the very initial thing is the river deep enough for vessels to come in? Gotcha. And historically, there were big freighters coming in just down the river here. There's a big turning basin, so big freighters used to come in here, and it's been dredged before. But the bigger cruise ships, they need to be reassured, right, that there's enough draft, enough space for the boat to come in and dock safely. So we've handled that a number of different ways. Just, you know, other agencies have mapped the river before, but this is the first time it's going to be in such high detail. So when we're able to provide that data, you know, quick and easy, this is public domain information, I think that's a really good sign that we're you know, ready and willing and professional and, you know, welcoming to these ships. So that's the first thing. Is it deep enough for the boats to come into the river?
So obviously Alpena is one community here on the Sunrise side that is taking advantage of some of this mapping, and this relationship is just starting, and this team will be back for a couple years going on and doing some of their mapping work. Can other cities throughout the Sunrise side, like Tawa City or Harrisville, utilize some of this data to maybe invite cruise ships or you know, give people a better sense of understanding of the area's water bottom to go forward? You
know, I think for sure. I mean, when we talk about the sanctuary and think about the sanctuary, like I said before, it's 4,300 square miles out there in Lake Huron. So any data that we can collect is of use to so many different entities. And that is all along the coast of Northeast Michigan, but I also think the state of Michigan as well. So back to the different scientific subjects, if you will, the biology, the geology, the tourism. I mean, if we find more shipwrecks out there, that's going to you know, increase visitation. People who maybe have been diving here for years are like, oh, there's a new shipwreck, we want to go experience that. So I do see it as a collective community as a whole. You know, the sanctuary shoreline is almost, I think it's like 250 miles. So I'm really positive that this is going to be of use for a long time. And you mentioned how this is, you know, the partnership is just beginning, and I just want to point out that Dr. Bob Ballard, who discovered the Titanic, is the foundation behind the Ocean Exploration Trust, and he was actually here long ago in the very beginning years of the sanctuary. Sanctuary was designated in the year 2000. He was here exploring with the same tools that he takes out into the ocean, the big remotely operated vehicles, the Argus and the Hercules, exploring these shipwrecks. And his visit then, when he was with the Institute for Exploration, really put Alpena on the map in the eyes of explorers and maritime history. And we kind of look at this, he's back again with his group of experts, and like you said, it will be the next couple years, beginning of a continuation rather than the beginning of a great partnership. Well, thank you so much for your time, Steph. Coming up next on Insights into Northeast Michigan, we'll continue exploring this topic of mapping Lake Huron and the Thunder Bay River, as well as all of the Sunrise sides, so stick with us. Welcome back to Insights into Northeast Michigan, and joining me now is Erin Heffron. She does a lot of the mapping and data analysis of the mapping here in the Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary, as well as the Thunder Bay River. You are here with the Ocean Exploration Trust doing some fascinating work. Can you just walk me through that process and how it all comes together?
Sure, yeah. So we came here in partnership with the sanctuaries, of course, and then the University of New Hampshire Center for Coastal and Ocean Mapping. And so they've brought their autonomous system, which is called the ASV Ben. It's a little yellow boat that's been around in the lake the last week or so. Has a multi-beam sonar. So with that sonar, we're collecting bathymetry of the seafloor, also intensity information. They go out all day, they collect that information, they're monitoring it real time, so they get a real-time feed coming in and they're looking for targets of interest. And then the data comes to me, I process it, so I scan through it, and of course we're looking for shipwrecks first and foremost. That's the most exciting thing, but even when we're not getting shipwrecks, we're getting beautiful coverage of the lake bed and seeing habitat and things like that. So I process it and we make maps, and we'll be providing this great chunk of data back to the sanctuary and other users.
So how does a cruising industry or let's say a fishing company use that data to have a better understanding of the area here?
Okay, yeah, for a cruise company, they're most interested in the depth of the river or the lake bed. They want to know that they can get their vessel safely into a location without running aground. So they want to know the most accurate maps of the seabed or lake bed or riverbed that they could possibly get. Make sure that their draft is suitable and they're not going to get stuck with a ship full of people. So that's the most important part to them. With the fisheries, they want to know where the fish will be, or people who are just fishing. And fishermen have a lot of that knowledge. They know, they kind of gain knowledge themselves about where the best fishing locations are, but these maps give you a lot more information. You can see where the rocky, the bouldery, the rugged parts of the lake bed are, and that's typically where things like to hang out. So that's the good fishing spots. So we're providing just really good data that can go for multiple uses.
Have you done some of this work for other coastal cities like Alpena or even bigger to help give them a better understanding of their area in the lake or in the ocean?
We have worked with coastal sanctuaries often. I mean, I'm on the Nautilus, so we're most often on the ocean or on the coastal cities ocean-wide. I think this may be our first lake. I may be wrong. It's my first lake. But yeah, helping them understand the same things, fisheries, understanding what the habitat looks like, understanding their biological communities for fishing, but also for people who want to come dive on the sanctuaries and use it in other ways, or just understanding what resources are there and managing them better, understanding the fish resources, the mineral resources, knowing what's in these public spaces, or they could be sanctuaries, but we've also done work in the open ocean that's available to people, so that we know what's there and we know how to best utilize it, but also what should be protected and help conserve it.
Now you're working with some cutting edge technology and it's definitely only going to get better and better. How do you see the future turning out for this type of work in mapping and lakes and oceans and different rivers and things?
So I think a big thing will be autonomy. So we have this autonomous vessel with us. They are being utilized more, autonomous vessels. Even we see drones all the time now. Same thing in the ocean. I think we'll be seeing more autonomous vessels. Ocean exploration is expensive and it takes a ship and people. And if we could be doing more while we're out there, if we could be mapping with a ship, but also have multiple autonomous vessels also mapping information, we're getting more information at same or similar costs. So I think autonomy is a big thing. And then we're always just working on ways to better sample, better understand the community without having to go directly somewhere. So with Ocean Exploration Trust, we've always, one of our main goals is to look at new technologies and utilize them and test them out on our platform. So we've tried different things for sampling, like on our ROV, different tools for getting samples, but also things like eDNA, where they can just take a water sample and understand the biological community just from that without having to take a physical sample of a coral or a fish or some other specimen.
That is just amazing work, and the future looks very bright for this type of work and you know, just really exploration. It's the biggest part of it, and it's very important to different communities, especially our community here being a small town in a small area. So I want to thank you for being here, Erin, and joining me today and talking a little bit more about this process.
Thank you.
Coming up next on Insights into Northeast Michigan, we'll continue our exploration into this fascinating work and really show how it benefits our area here on the Sunrise side. Welcome back to Insights into Northeast Michigan, and right now we have joining us Don Gilmet. Don, you manage the marina here. You're also the city building inspector, so you wear a lot of hats in the city.
That is true.
And it's a beautiful day out. We're enjoying it here at the marina. Obviously, we have some data collection going on here throughout these past couple of weeks with different scientists coming in here and basically creating a topographical map of our lake floor as well as our river floor. Tell me a little bit about how you can utilize this data to help benefit the city.
Well, one way is that, you know, again, you said it's kind of like a topo map, but it's probably even more accurate than that, you know, with the advanced scientific stuff that they have to do that with. They basically went out around the outside edge of the breakwall all the way down the river and into the turning basin, which is directly behind NOAA. So as you know, like last year, we had the biggest cruise ship on the Great Lakes, the Hamburg, came in. And even though the charts from the Army Corps of Engineers showed that the water in the river was deep enough for them to pull in there, they were just a little bit apprehensive because with the high winds like we always seem to have after noon, they were worried about getting blown up, running aground, all that type of stuff. So this type of data would be very good to be able to give to the captain with that accurate of a chart, where, you know, my understanding from talking with Jeff Gray at NOAA and Stephanie Gandula, I mean, if there's a tree laying on the bottom, this thing's going to show it. Now, I haven't had a chance to review any of that data yet, but that would be one example where, even though a cruise ship or the tall ships, you know, coming to the city doesn't necessarily put money in the city government's pocket, what it does do is attracts people to our town, which in turn spend money on the local economy, which puts money in our, you know, our customers' pockets, the city population. And a lot of people just like seeing that because it's cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you see a giant cruise ship outside of Alpena, a city that you might not think would be a cruising destination, is slowly becoming just that. What was the difference between the data that you had before compared to the data that you're going to be receiving now? What's that major difference?
Well, again, I haven't put my eyes on the new data because they just got done doing it last week, but the Corps of Engineer charts that are available online, you know, they basically show you an outline of a shipping channel. So there'll be a couple lines that weave around, and maybe it'll have a depth of 23 feet. So they'll show you where that 23 feet is. But it may not necessarily show you a little hump in the middle, or for an example, over on the river where the salt boats come in and dump the salt there on Alpena Oil Company's property. There's a spot there that's only 16 feet deep, and it's a big shelf of rock or something coming out, you know, the limestone formations we have. So if you look on the Army Corps of Engineers data, you might not necessarily see that in that one spot. But if you're, like, and again, I said that was around 16 feet deep when the cruise ship came. But if you're something that needs about 20 feet of water, you don't want to find it. So, you know, that's my understanding when speaking with Jeff Gray, that this is just going to be so much more accurate, and the depths are so much closer together.
Mm-hmm. So that's going to be super helpful, especially for cruising ships. Do you expect to see more cruise liners come through Alpena now that obviously we've had one already come, but now that we have some more of this data, do you think that'll help boost our economy here?
The cruise ships will definitely help boost the economy. To what degree, you know, that's up for discussion. But again, just having them, you know, puts a positive connotation on your area that, you know, hey, they came here. So we've actually had cruise ships here 4 times. So last year we had the Hamburg twice, and prior to that we had a smaller one that actually docked right behind the Armory, the old Armory Memorial Hall, called the Yorktown, that was about half as big as that one. And that's what I figured. So the Yorktown came, you know, 2-3 years ago, and then other cruise ships are looking around going, hey, why are they going there? So it spurs interest in your community. And they'll generally call and talk with Mary Beth at the CVB or Ann at the DDA. They'll call me as the harbor master, you know, fishing for some information, what is there to do. You know, and currently they pull in and they're here for 6 or 7 hours and then they leave. But everyone that has been here has had a positive experience. And my hope is that since the Hamburg is the biggest cruise ship on the Great Lakes, that will spur some interest from some of the other lines that haven't been here before. Because as you know, I mean, an event, you're going to cruise around on the Great Lakes on a ship, you can't keep going the same places all the time, or people aren't going to rebook. So.
And that's a good point. I mean, you think about Alpena, obviously it's the hub here in Northeast Michigan, but you also have a Rogers City, a Harrisville, a Tawas. Do you think they would be able to take advantage of that type of mapping if the work was done out there? Obviously, Rogers City's had some of that work done over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, it all boils down to having the depth to pull in a big cruise ship. Like the Yorktown, the smaller ones, they need about 12 feet. So with the lake as high as it is, you know, they can get just about anywhere. The bigger ships that take 20, 18 feet, you need a shipping channel, like a core, and everybody doesn't have that, but Alpena does, you know, due to Lafarge, due to DPI, the stuff that used to happen, you know, back in the day where NOAA is, that was Fletcher Paper Company, and ships went underneath that bridge all the time, you know, bringing coal and all kinds of stuff. So that gives Alpena an advantage right there.
It's kind of like an interesting resurgence because you think back to, you know, the turn of the century. Earlier than that, there were ships all up and down the Thunder Bay River. I mean, that was the main line of basically trade and everything. And now we're slowly maybe starting to see that resurge. Obviously, we still have ships coming into our port, but you know, to see more and more and to see tourism, something that we hold near and dear to our hearts here, really kind of getting that extra boost and having this data to use that. Something special.
It is, and what was interesting, the Yorktown, well, those ships, the Yorktown, the Hamburg, Great Lakes cruising in general, generally the demographics are baby boomers like me. and older that come from Europe. You know, they're pretty well off. They've done all the Carnival Cruise Lines and all the ocean stuff with 7,000 people, but I mean, there's got to be quite an interest to fork over, you know, $8,000 to $12,000 for a room for 10 days on the Great Lakes. And so when they were here, I asked them, you know, what was the attraction? And 90% of them just said, well, we're from Germany. I've been in Germany, so I'm familiar with the country. And this lake is bigger than our whole country. So of it not being an ocean, you know, that was mind-boggling. That was the attraction to come here. So now once we get them here to see that, then we got to get them here to see Alpena, you know.
I'm hoping that they do, and I'm hoping that they stop by for maybe the 4th of July. That's always a pretty good time.
Yeah.
Have some fun and enjoy our independence. So thank you so much for chatting with me today, Don. We appreciate it as always. And that'll wrap up our Insights into Northeast Michigan. Be sure to tune in next week.
Insights into Northeast Michigan is produced by WBKB News. If you have any comments, suggestions, or topics you would like to see on a future show, please email WBKB News. This has been a production of Thunder Bay Broadcasting Corporation. All rights reserved.